God, we want you to be worshiped today. In your name we pray. Amen. Man of sorrows. Man of sorrows, Lamb of God, by his own betrayed, the sin of man and wrath of God has been on Jesus laid. Silent as he stood accused, beaten, mocked, and scorned, bowing to the Father's will, he took the crown of thorns. And on the rugged cross, my salvation, where your love poured out over me. Now my soul cries out, hallelujah, praise and honor unto thee. Sin of heaven, God's own Son, to purchase and redeem, reconcile the very ones who nailed him to that tree. Of the rugged cross, my salvation, where your love poured out over me. Now my soul cries out, hallelujah, praise and honor unto thee. Now my debt is paid. Now my debt is paid. It is paid in full by the precious blood that my Jesus spilled. Now the curse of sin has no hold on me. When the Son sets free, oh, it's free indeed.
Now my debt is paid. It is paid in full by the precious blood that my Jesus spilled. Now the curse of sin has no hold on me. When the Son sets free, oh, it's free indeed.
Oh, the rugged cross, my salvation, where your love poured out over me. Now my soul cries out, hallelujah, praise and honor unto thee. See the stone. See the stone is rolled away. Behold the empty tomb. Hallelujah, God be praised. He's risen from the grave. No rugged cross, my salvation.
This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I'll make room for you. Do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to. And I'll make room for you. Do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to. Here's where I lay down every burden, every crown. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay down every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I'll make room for you. Do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to. I'll make room for you. Do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to.
And I'll make room. I will make room.
For you. Do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to. And I'll make room for you. Do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to.
Shake up the ground.
Shake up the ground for my tradition. Break down the walls for my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better. Shake up the ground for my tradition. Break down the walls for my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better.
Shake up the ground for my tradition. Break down the walls for my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better. Shake up the ground for my tradition. Break down the walls for my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better.
I'll make room for you. Do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to. And I will make room for you. Do whatever you want to. Do whatever you want to.
Heavenly Father, God, we just want to pray over Matt as he delivers the message this morning. We pray that you speak through him, that our hearts are open to truth, that our hearts are ready to be changed, and that we can just make room for you. In your name we pray. Amen.
You guys can go ahead and have a quick seat. Well, good morning. If I haven't had a chance to meet you yet, my name's Ian. I'm on staff here with H2O. And I love a lot of things about H2O. One of my things that I love the most is life groups, guys. If you have not gone to life group yet, I'd highly encourage you to go. They're super fun. You get to meet a lot of awesome people, and we have this intersection of how does the Bible apply to our lives today? So those meet every single week, at 7 p.m. just over here in the lounge on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So those are happening. Love you guys to come. And some of you guys are also in classes, right? Most of you are. Maybe you're in physics or chemistry this year, and maybe you're feeling a little anxious. Maybe you're like, man, this is going to be a really hard class. At H2O, we care about the whole of your lives, not just part of it. And we want to help you guys if you need help, because we have people who actually teach these subjects that come to our church and are a part of it. So if you need help with chemistry at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays before life group, Lauren Stewart is going to be your gal. She's going to meet in the same area we do life groups. And if you're in physics, her husband, one of our pastors, Tom Stewart, is also a physics teacher. So he's going to do that on Thursdays at 6, also in the lounge. So if you need help with those, go talk to them. They would be happy to sit down with you. All right. Next thing. I'm going to ask everyone to pull their phones out for this next part. You're like, what's he going to have us do? Don't worry. Don't worry. So the Connect card. There's a QR code up on the screen. There's also a QR code in your handout. If you have filled this out this year already, you don't need to do this. If you've not filled it out this year, I'm going to encourage you and ask you to do that now, even if you've done it before. Why? Because we got a little fancy over the summer, and we have text alerts now, which is kind of cool. So if you fill out the Connect card, there's an option to opt into text alerts. They're really helpful, especially if we have like a last-minute change. Last week when we were outside, we were like, hey, bring a camping chair, bring a blanket. We're going to be meeting here. Next week, we're not in this room. We're up in Phoenicia on the 4th floor. So you sign up for text alerts. You're going to get a reminder of that. All the info is also on the website, but let's face it, it's really easy to get a text. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick 60 seconds to go ahead and fill that out right now. Even if you've done it in a past year, we ask you to just fill it out again just so you can say yes or no to that text opt-in. I don't know if that's 60 seconds, but it feels like 60 seconds. All right. Friends, you'll notice that there's another person up here with me today. This is my buddy Josh. And I asked Josh up here for one specific reason. We're going to talk about something very exciting. Josh, what is fall retreat?
Ian, I have a counter question for you. What isn't fall retreat? Fall retreat is your mixed bag of everything. If you want it, it's probably there. We talk a lot about, well, maybe not yet, but we have a triangle. I know it's in the bulletin with your up, your in, and your out. Fall retreat is a good time to knock out two birds with one stone with the up and the in. It's a little 24-hour retreat where, we all get in the car and drive, I think, about 2 hours east of here towards Worcester. I don't know. I'm not from Ohio, so I don't know how to do it properly. But we got sports if you're competitive. We have fellowship. We have worship. We do all kinds of stuff. There's free time. Just hang out with everybody that you're going with. And we're also going to be with H2O Buffalo and H2O Cincinnati. So you'll get to meet other people from other H2Os in our network. Also, if you want to stay up really late and are really crazy like me and a few other people, you can stay up till 3 in the morning playing euchre and flip a table whenever you get mad. Yeah, here's back to Ian.
We weren't going to bring up the table flipping. But fall retreat's a great time. It's going to be September 27th to the 28th, so a Friday night to a Saturday night. And again, instead of just me telling you why you should go, Josh, could you please tell all of our friends right here, what are 2 reasons they should consider going to fall retreat?
Well, the first reason is, like I mentioned before, the community aspect. You're just with I know it might sound scary, but you're with the same people for 24 hours, and you just get to spend so much quality time with all of them. I have made some amazing friendships with all of those people. A bunch of people that aren't here anymore, but I still am connected with. It's a great time to just focus your heart and grow with other believers in that space of just being in community, bonding. Some people get into some good talks late at night. It's just a good place to build some really deep friendships that are going to stay with you for a very long time. The second reason I have is I get that a lot of you guys are students, and I know it's going to sound scary. You're going away from campus for 24 hours, but it's like a mini 24-hour vacation. If getting away from campus for 24 hours scares you about schoolwork, you can bring your schoolwork with you, but I'd recommend you don't do it over that time. That sounds really bad, but try and get it done beforehand because you're away from school, you're away from the anxiety. You just get to focus on your community. You get to focus on your relationship with Jesus. It's just such I call it like a mini vacation because that's kind of what it is. So those are my two reasons from 7 years of experience now.
Thank you so much, Josh. Guys, that's a good pitch. I like the mini vacation aspect, but it's that connection with community. Getting connected with God and with each other is the main reason to go follow our trade. So you can scan the QR code. You can register online at h2otoledo.org. It's $40 for the whole weekend. That includes your meals, lodging, all that fun stuff. If money is an issue, don't let it be an issue. Come talk to me or another staffer. We got scholarships available for that. So now we're going to transition. We're going to move into our Say Hi. This is a time where you can get up, you can get a snack. If you need a Bible, a pen, or a highlighter, they're over there in the back. And just say hi to someone around you if you're like, man, I don't know what to ask people. We got a question for you. What's your favorite thing about fall? Go say hi.
You will sustain me until the end. You are the only one. You are the only one. When you speak, dreams and reality collide. Your word rewrites my destiny. My life finds a new beginning. 'Cause you are my energy. Jesus, your presence is what ignites. Your truth is electric, the source of life. A moment with you makes me come alive, alive. When you speak, dreams and reality collide. Your word rewrites my destiny. My life finds a new beginning. 'Cause you are my energy. Jesus, you're everything I need and more. I'll follow you till the end. You are my strength. Jesus, you're everything I need and more. You are my energy. You're the everlasting God. Oh, you know that?
Yep, that's right. All right, everybody, you guys can go ahead and grab your seats. Welcome, welcome. If we have not had a chance to meet yet, my name is Matt Olszewski. I'm one of the pastors here at H2O Toledo. So glad you guys are here. Okay, we're going to make like a real sharp turn here transition. Okay, we just asked you guys a really easy question of what is your favorite part of fall, but I'm gonna ask you a little bit more serious of a question. And if you noticed, there was a piece of paper and there's a pen underneath every seat that's here this morning. And I want you guys to take some time, real quick, because you're going to know this answer very quickly, but this is a little bit deeper of a question. I want you to write down on the piece of paper, and you can be as generic as you want. You do not need to be specific, because I am going to read these out loud, like as soon as I gather them. The question is, what do you have the most anxiety about in life right now? Okay, 30 seconds to a minute, and as soon as you write your answer down, fold it up and send it to the middle person on the end of the aisle, and Tom has a basket, and he's going to gather all of those, and he's going to bring them up to me. Again, you do not need to be specific, right? This is anonymous. But what is causing you the most anxiety in life right now? Once you're done, you can just pass it towards the middle. If you can see which way my fingers are pointing, towards the middle. So Tom, you can just go up the aisle. We'll see how fast this goes. Maybe I'll read a lot of them, but my assumption, because I love to make assumptions, my assumption is that there are going to be some consistent answers among you. So if you're done, you can pass it towards the middle. Has everybody had a chance to pass it in? Okay, we got a few more. This is not meant to call anybody out, again, because this is anonymous. So I think this is hope to just give you guys a picture of what is weighing a lot of us down. Okay. Here we go. We're going to start off. This is very relevant for this week. School shootings. Biology. Already being behind in note-taking, reading. So we got all things related to school so far. Meeting new people. So you may have liked that say hi. You may have been scared of that say hi. Job. The old J-O-B. Future job. Okay. Heading in a direction here. I should just put this basket down. We've got homework and exams, time constraints, presentation. Someone's got a presentation coming up. Trusting God's timing. Getting my schoolwork done on time and not missing assignments. You guys seeing a pattern here? My faith. Law school. Where I'm going to end up after graduation. How my next year and a half will turn out. Law school. Man, we got 2 people in law school? That's crazy. Not contradicting the future. That would be hard to do. Not controlling the future. That seems more reasonable. Paying for school. Financial situation, school, work, money. Right now, I'm more worried about my classes and getting a good internship. Okay, I'm going to stop there, okay? Because we can see a pretty consistent pattern, right? We can see that you guys are worried about all the different aspects of life, but for most of you, you're in school, and school right now can cause a lot of anxiety. And why do we worry about these things? Why do we have anxious thoughts that follow us throughout the day? Well, the answer is simple, is that these are the things that are putting the most pressure on you right now. These are the things that are most in front of your face right now that have what seem like really big consequences. And that's normal. Anxiety is normal. And I think for as much as we talk about anxiety in our culture, I think we have stigmatized anxiety, but I think in a negative way. I think sometimes when we think about anxiety or we say that we have anxiety, we swing the pendulum so far over and we say, I'm an anxious person or I have an anxiety disorder, which maybe some of you do. And please hear me out. I'm not trying to minimize anxiety. Anxiety is very real. It's very real to you guys because it's in front of your face. It's real to me because of things that I worry about. But anxiety is more normal than we want to make it out to be. However, some of us in this room, we do significantly deal with high anxiety. Maybe some of us have been given an anxiety disorder by a doctor. We feel these things so deeply. And this is with any kind of emotion that we can feel throughout the day. We feel things so intensely, and anxiety is probably one of the most intense feelings that we can experience on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes our feelings of anxiety or any other feeling that we experience, they can feel chaotic. They can feel all over the place. Sometimes they can almost feel like it's an out-of-body experience where you're saying, I'm feeling this way. I don't want to feel this way, but I don't know how to fix it. It's almost like you're seeing yourself getting worked up about the things that you're anxious about, and you're realizing, uh-oh, my day's already off to a bad start. This isn't good. I feel anxious. But here's what I want to talk about this morning, is that any feeling that we have like this, that brings a perspective of life, an attitude of life, a vision of life that doesn't feel settling or foundational to us, God always offers something better. God always offers an alternative, a better alternative. And there's a part of that alternative that God plays the biggest part, but then we also play a significant part in that as well. And so if your life feels chaotic, if your life feels anxious, you don't feel like you can get a control of all these anxious thoughts and feelings and emotions, I want you to know that there's an opposite feeling that you can experience with the help of God, which is peace. You can experience the feeling of peace. And now when I say feeling, I don't want to simplify that. Because our feelings can come and go. Our feelings can say this one minute and it can say this another minute. So I'm not just talking about the feeling of peace. I'm talking about the presence of peace. Something that becomes foundational. It becomes so ingrained into who you are, deep inside of you, that peace always walks with you. It doesn't mean that you don't ever get rid of anxiety or anxiousness. It just means that peace is now together with that. So I want to talk through that this morning. I want to talk through what that looks like. And so we've been in this series called First Impressions, okay? First Impressions. And for the first week, we talked about this first impression that this woman has of Jesus and where we get the name H2O. And Jesus' talking with this woman, and this woman kind of has a first impression of, I don't know who you are, I don't know what you're about, but by the end of their conversation, her first impression changes to, this guy's amazing. He told me everything about my life, and I need what he's telling me about, which is this living water. And then last week, Tom talked through this first impression where these two women are having a meal at their house. And one of the women is up busy and working and trying to do and serve Jesus, and the other woman is just sitting at Jesus' feet. And he talked about how sometimes the first impression that we have of Jesus is that we feel like we need to be doing all the good things. We need to be active, and we need to be saying all the right things and doing all the right things so that we can make Jesus happy. But all Jesus really wants is our presence. He wants our devotion, to sit with him, to be with him, to know him, to learn from him. And so that's what Tom talked about last week. And so this week, instead of having another first impression of Jesus and reading through a story about how someone had a first impression of Jesus, we're going to have a first impression of words. A first impression of words, right? Sometimes we hear phrases and we hear things that that people say, and we have a first impression of, I think that's true, or not true, or I don't like how that was said, or I do like how that was said. We're inspired. We have first impressions of words. So this week, I want you to consider the words that I'm about to read. Okay? They come from a guy named Paul. None of us have met Paul, right? Paul lived thousands of years ago, and he wrote this book called Philippians, which is in the Bible. And I want you to imagine, as I read these words, that if you were feeling anxious about something, and for some reason, you met this guy, Paul, and you decided to just spill your guts to him. You've never met him before. You just spilled your guts and you said, here's all the things that I'm anxious about. I want you to think about how you would respond if this is what Paul said to you. Okay, in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, Paul says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Okay, we're going to do a little bit more crowd participation. I like to get people involved. Okay? What would your reaction be to this? Would it be positive? Would it be negative? Okay, and I want your real response. Okay? Can I get maybe 2 volunteers to say, this is how I would feel if someone said this to me? Anybody? Okay. Yes. You would not love that. Okay. You would not handle that well. Okay? I like the honesty of that. And it doesn't seem like people are too eager to volunteer, so we're just going to move on, because I think there's something to that. Okay? There's something truthful about what Caitlin just said. Even though Paul is telling us very important things, those words are not untrue. They're very true, but I think there's something that would annoy me about what he just said. Okay? If I just told someone all the things, or the very thing that I'm anxious about, and he looks back at me and says, well, just don't be anxious. Dude, just pray. Just be thankful. Thank God, and worship him, and let God know how you feel. I think there would be a part of me that would be very annoyed and want to punch that person in the face, okay? I would want to tune out whatever else they had to say to me after that. Because there's a part of that answer that seems very simplistic to me. It seems like, well, this can just be fixed if you just go to God with it. Again, not untrue, but I don't think it's the answer that we always want. Right? Don't be anxious about anything. Don't tell me that. Because I think maybe even some people have been told this, right? You grew up in your house for 18 years before you came to college. And you would tell your parents or you would tell close friends things, and they would respond in a way that maybe they wouldn't use the words like, why are you even worrying about that? You shouldn't be worrying about that. And that is so frustrating when your parents talk to you in that way, or your friends talk to you in that way. You shouldn't be worried about that. It gives you the impression that it's wrong to be anxious about things. It gives you the impression that it's not right, or that you're not being a good Christian if you get anxious about things, or if you feel anxiety. And let me just say this before we continue moving on, because I think this is so important. The goal of our spiritual life, okay, the goal of our spiritual life is not to be a good Christian. Is not to do all the right things, to not say all the right things, make all the right decisions. Our goal is not that. That is also too shallow and too simplistic of a response to what Paul just told us. Our goal as people who've been created by God is to be a disciple of Jesus. Our goal as people who have been created by God is to be a disciple of Jesus. And the word disciple just means learner. It means learner. So all that really means is that the goal of our life is to be lifelong learners of the Jesus way. That when we read about the life of Jesus, our goal in life is to be lifelong learners of the way of Jesus. Learners of how God's life is designed to be lived in comparison to the kingdom that has been created here on this earth, that I think all of us are aware by now, that's not working for us. School shootings, school anxiety, worry about money. Jesus has answers to all these things. And he's asking us to learn a different way. You guys have heard that phrase, born again, right? It comes from the Bible, but most oftentimes in our current context, someone is asking in a really weird way, maybe walking up to you, or maybe you've seen this on campus with like campus preachers, or hey, are you born again? Are you born again? It seems like an old phrase, but Jesus himself said it. He said in John 3, he said, I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. And here's what Jesus is implying by this. That when you see God's kingdom, you see a completely different way of life that must be learned. Right? You are saying that I am born again. You're saying that my old life no longer exists. That's dead. That person doesn't exist anymore. You're starting a brand new life, meaning you have to relearn everything that you once knew about life before. It's like going back and being a baby. We have a baby over here, Penelope. She is the cutest thing. It would be silly of us to say to Penelope that she should start making complete sentences, and that if she can't say complete sentences, that she is not a good human. That would be silly of us to say that. So when we first start learning to live this new life as a Christian, as a disciple and learner of Jesus, we're learning a new way to live. We're like babies. we're learning something different. So with our anxiety, it's the same thing. Our anxiety, it's the same thing. So if we're a disciple learner of the Jesus way, we're learning how to deal with anxiety in this new life. We're learning how to deal with it. So getting back to Philippians, right? I don't think Paul is saying that anxiety is wrong. He's not saying it's bad for you to experience anxiety. He's not saying you're a bad Christian. I think what he's trying to get at is that don't let anxiety consume your life, overtake your life, and become so deeply embedded in who you are, right? Because I told you that we want peace to be deeply embedded in who we are, not anxiety. In the new life, we're deeply embedded with peace. So Paul is not saying that anxiety is wrong. Because even earlier in the book of Philippians, Paul even admits that he's anxious about something. He has a friend that's with him while he's writing this letter to his friends in Philippi. He has a friend that's with him that has gotten so sick that he almost died. And he's telling his friends, the Philippians, he's saying, I'm going to send Epaphroditus back to you. And this is what he says in Philippians 2. Therefore, I am all the more eager to send him so that when you see him again, you may be glad and I may have less anxiety. He's like, get Epaphroditus away from me so I don't have to be so anxious. Him being sick and almost dying is causing me anxiety. So Paul's not saying anxiety is wrong. Okay? So let's look and see how we can make it possible to decrease our anxiety. How do we decrease this? Does it even seem possible? Right? For some of us, it seems impossible that this would even be a reality. That anxiety has been so part of our lives that it just seems like this is just what I'm going to have to deal with. These are the issues that are going to plague me over and over again. But again, let's look at Paul. Paul, he's a real person. Okay, sometimes I think we forget that when we're reading the Bible. We're reading about real people, people that lived this life just like you and I. He's a real person in history who lived on this earth. And even more than that, if you know anything about the book of Philippians, he's writing this book while he's in jail. Okay, not for a crime that he's committed, right? He's in jail because he's telling people about this new way of life in Jesus. He's telling them about this new kingdom and that there's different rules to this kingdom. And people are getting mad because the Christian group is growing. The population of people that say that they are Christians and disciples and followers of Jesus, it's growing. And what happens when groups grow and it looks like they get more power? The people in power get scared that their power is going to get taken away. So they put Paul, who's the most influential Christian leader at this time, they put him in jail, and they're trying to decide what they're going to do with him until they ultimately execute him, which is what happened to Paul eventually. Pretty high anxiety right there, right? Paul's in jail, pretty much looking at, I'm going to be put to death at some point. I'm in harm's way. That's high anxiety. It's different anxiety than you guys experience, but I don't think Paul would say my anxiety is deeper or more important than yours. You guys deal with real, stressful, anxious things in this life. So how did Paul deal with this? How was he able to do that? It wasn't just because he could say, don't be anxious about anything. I don't think that's just something that he said over and over again. I think it's something better. And there's actually 4 words that I skipped over that Paul says right before, do not be anxious about anything. And this is how Paul was able to deal with his anxiety. He says 4 words. The Lord is near. The Lord is near. And again, this seems very simplistic, doesn't it? It seems too simplistic. But when you're anxious and you feel alone, what do you really want? You want to know that somebody is going to be there for you, to sit with you, to listen to you, to understand you, to nod their head in agreement of, yeah, that sounds hard. But I think sometimes in our anxiety, we isolate ourselves. We push people away. Because sometimes in our anxiety, we start to look at the lives of other people and we think, these people have it together. They know what they're doing. They can't possibly understand the anxiety that I'm feeling. There's a basket full of things that would contradict that statement. People are experiencing the same anxiety that you are. Maybe different scenarios, maybe different specific situations, but they're dealing with anxiety. So the theme for this year that we have held off to talk about, but the theme for H2O this year is everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual, which means everything in your life points to a spiritual component of how God has designed you, created you, and want you to live a life where you're learning who He is in this beautiful kingdom that He's invited you into that has different rules than this earth. Everything is spiritual. Not just when you're sitting here at church, not just when you're at life group and you're talking about the Bible, not just when you're talking about spiritual things throughout the week. Everything you do in your life is spiritual, and the Lord is near. And so not only is everything spiritual, but I think everything is also practical. And so I want to talk through, with the rest of our time, really quickly, 3 practical ways that I see that the Lord is near. That the Lord is near. Because like I said, I don't want to simplify this. Okay? It goes a little bit deeper than this. So number 1, the Lord is near, literally. In a spiritual sense, the Lord, He's right here next to me. He's right there next to you in a chair. He's with you. And we talked earlier about this idea of that we're born again. This is a process of us learning how to see that the Lord is near. Because I think all of us here this morning could admit, I don't always think that He's near. I am not even sure if He's in the same room as me sometimes. The Lord is near. And we have to learn and teach ourselves, not teach ourselves, we need to allow God to teach us to have spiritual eyes so that we can actually see that He is near. It's a crazy concept. We have an invisible God that we can also, at the same time, be confident that He is near. But that's a whole learned thing that we have to do. It's not baby stuff. Like, it's not like we've just been born and we have the eyes to see God, that the Lord is near. We have to learn that. We have to grow into it. We have to experience His nearness over and over again. So anytime you read in the Bible, you hear phrases like, be courageous, don't be afraid, do not fear, don't be anxious, be strong. Or really, anytime God is asking people to do something difficult, it's almost always connected to a phrase of, I will always be with you. Jesus said that. Or it's connected to, the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Your God will be with you. Anytime God asks us to do something difficult, to be courageous, bold, or to not be anxious, to not be afraid, He says, I'm here. I'm with you. So if these are the words and the truth of God's presence to people for thousands of years, then this is true for us. The Lord is near. Can you see him? Have you seen him? And if you haven't, that's okay. We want to help you grow in that knowing in Jesus who he is and that he's near. And so we're gonna learn that over and over again, and we're gonna be able to experience his peace that we didn't even think was possible, right? Because that's what Paul said. Paul says, the Lord is near, do not be anxious about anything. And then he talks a little bit more, and then he says, the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. You understand that? The Lord is near, and he's guarding your hearts and minds so that you can experience peace, so that anxiety is not the only thing that you see. I tried to mess around with this a little bit using AI, and I typed into an AI generator that give me a picture of what it would look like for God to protect our minds and our hearts. And I can't put any of the images that were out. They were just really weird. I was like, I'm going to take a chance, see what artificial intelligence will do in this situation. It might be pretty cool. None of it was cool or helpful. So AI, I'm sure, is helpful for a lot of people, but in my situation, it was not. Okay, but God wants to protect our minds and our hearts, and he's near. I hope that you can see him. Number 2, the Lord is near through others. The Lord is near through others. Okay, just a few verses later in Philippians 4, the same section that we've been reading out of this morning, Paul says this. He says, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. You hear what he's saying here? He's saying, I've taught you some things. I've shown you some things. I've been with you. Just as the Lord is near me, the Lord is near you through me as well. And this is so important, right? Many of you have just stepped foot onto UT's campus, which is a frightening thing. And even one person confessed to this morning, that meeting new people is causing anxiety. Some of you came from a high school situation where you had friends, you had people that you could depend on. And now you're having to meet brand new people. And that's anxiety filling. That causes anxiety. The best thing that you can do, the best thing that we can do as a church for you is that we can be people with you, a community that is alongside with you. And so when Paul says, do the things that you've learned or received or heard from me, what I hear is that we all need friends that we can learn from that already are farther along in having a vision of knowing that the Lord is near, that can help us learn how to live that life of peace with them. We need a friend who is a non-anxious presence, right? If you deal with anxiety and you hang out with friends that also have anxiety, is that helpful? No, you guys are just, you're like asking each other, take a bite of this anxiety. Oh, you try this anxiety? How about this anxiety? You're feeding each other anxiety over and over again. We need people that bring us in the presence of God's peace. Okay? Finally, the Lord is near by his own choice and experience. The Lord is near by his own choice and experience. And here's what I mean by that. This is what separates Christianity from all other major world religions in the world. Okay? Jesus, who is God, made the decision to become human like us in the flesh that we hold, to experience the emotions that we experience, to experience the pain that we experience here on earth. God himself left the comfortable, space of heaven, and he came to earth, which is the opposite of the peaceful and comforts of heaven. And he said, I'm going to live among you. I'm going to be God among you. There is no other major world religion where God lowers himself in a humiliating way to say, I love you so much that I am going to experience life as you experience it. All the other major world religions, all the other major world philosophies, whatever leader is at the top, and there's no way that they can relate to us as humans. Not a chance. That would be embarrassing to them. Jesus wasn't embarrassed by that. In fact, he experienced everything that we go through. Is that right before he was put on the cross, he's with his disciples, his closest friends, the ones that have been learning from him for 3 years. He goes into a garden, and some of you have heard this story. He goes into a garden to pray, and he's kneeling, and he knows he's about to get arrested. And he knows that after he gets arrested, he's going to go experience suffering, physical pain on the cross. And he's praying, and the Bible tells us that he's praying so intensely and that he's so worked up with anxiety and worry that it's like he's sweating drops of blood. It is an intense moment. Jesus, God himself, in human form, like us, experiencing so much mental anguish, knowing what was about to happen to him. That is love. That is the love that we hold on to, and we know that the Lord is near because he's experiencing life just like we're experiencing it. With disappointment, with anguish, with people giving up on him, with physical pain. The Lord is near. That's what helps us with our anxiety. So here's how I want to finish. Something that we take really seriously here at H2O is that in many of our services, we leave time for silence and reflection. Okay? Your guys' lives, they're busy, right? You're going from class to class, work, headphones are on, scrolling is happening. There's very little silence that happens in all of your lives. Very little. How are we to know that the Lord is near if we don't remove some of those barriers to be able to see him? So this is the first step that I want us to take in starting to learn and have these spiritual eyes that the Lord is near. So we're just going to sit in silence, but I'm going to give you some direction. Okay? Kind of going off that first practical way that we know that the Lord is near, literally, spiritually. I want us to start learning and keep learning that he is near. And so, some of you here this morning, maybe during this silent reflection time, you're asking the question, where are you, God? I can't see you. Maybe some of you here this morning just need to start the conversation with God in the silence. I can see you, Lord, but I want to see more of you. I want to learn to be able to see more of you. And then there might be some of you in this group that say, thank you, Lord, that I have learned you are near. I want to keep getting closer. There's maybe some of you in this room that aren't feeling any anxiety at all. And that shouldn't be a cause for all of us to be mad at you. We should celebrate that. We should be so excited that there's people in here that feel and know from their core that the Lord is near. I'm going to give you like a minute of silence just to start a conversation with God in any of these directions that you're in. Okay. One of the ways that God has provided us a time of remembrance, knowing that He is near, is with this thing called communion. And Jesus, again, right before He was put to death, He had a meal with His friends. And He said, this bread that I have here in front of me, this is my body as a sign of my love for you. And it's going to be broken. My body's going to be broken to take on the sin of the world, to display my love for all of you to see. And then He took a cup, and He said, this cup represents my blood that's going to be spilled out, because again, I am about to go into a situation that is so excruciating, but it's going to be a sign that there's a covenant between God and humanity, that my love will never run out. And that when you take this, it reminds you that the Lord is near. So the next few songs, there's a table back there. At any point throughout these next few songs, you can go grab a cup of bread and a cup of juice and just take some time to thank God that this is what He did. He went to the cross. He broke His body. He spilled His blood so that you could know that His love for you is never ending. If you're not sure if you believe this fully, that's okay. We would just say it makes the most sense that you wouldn't take communion. It's just a reminder, a symbol of people that have put their trust and their faith in Jesus and know for certain that the Lord is near. Then I want to just read this one last verse. This is our memory verse for the month. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxiety on Him, Jesus, because He cares for you. I want you to believe that. The Lord is near because He cares for you. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you that you are near. You're right here with us right now. Thank you for that truth. Give us eyes to see, Lord. And help us hear your voice, feel your presence, and walk and learn with you for the rest of our lives. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Feel free to stand and worship. We're going to sing a new song this morning. We're going to sing a song called Good Plans. And I just want to walk you through the first verse. It says, praise God, or no, the Lord is my shepherd, and he is everything I need. So I will not worry. I will not fear the enemy. When we sing good plans, that God has good plans for us, we're not singing and believing that we're going to get everything that we need. We feel anxiety about school, that we're not going to get the good grades. We're not going to get the job that we want. We're not going to have the family that we want. We're not going to have all the kids that we want. When we sing good plans, we're not saying, I know God is going to answer every single one of my prayers. I know I'm going to, these things that I feel anxiety about, it's going to go my way. But rather, when we sing God has good plans, we're saying God is my shepherd, that he's going to lead me where he wants me, and I'm going to be okay with whatever he has for me. Amen? So it doesn't matter. God is our shepherd. We're going to do all we can. We're going to pray. We're going to tell God what we want. But ultimately, we know that God wants us to experience the fullness of life, and we don't need everything that we want to have it. All we need is him. So let's sing the song together. Praise God from whom blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above the heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The Lord is my shepherd, and he is everything I need. So I will not worry, I will not fear the enemy. He said that he loves me, he said that he's with me, even though I walk through the valley of shadow and death, and still I know he has good plans. He has good plans for me. So I will take heart in deserts and gardens. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. If I know my Father, I know my Father has good plans. Lord is my Savior. The Lord is my Savior. So why should I doubt my victory? Why would I question the rod and the staff that comfort me? He quiets the waters, he quiets the storm inside of me. So what could be better than walking with him when I believe he has good plans? He has good plans for me. So I will take heart in deserts and gardens. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. If I know my Father, I know my Father has good plans. Surely your goodness. Surely your goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. Surely your goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. Church. salvation was only the start. Now I am chosen, free and forgiven. I have a future, and it's worth living. 'Cause I wasn't made to be tending the grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. So why would I? So why would I make a bed of my shame when the fountain of grace is running my way? I know I am yours. And I was made for more. I know who I am. 'Cause I know who you are. Cross of salvation was only the start. Now I am chosen, free and forgiven. I have a future, and it's worth believing. Sing it out, church. 'Cause I wasn't made to be tending a grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. So why would I make a bed in my shame when a fountain of grace is running my way? I know I am yours. I was made for more. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You called out my name, so I sing out your praise. Hallelujah. You buried my past, I'm not going back. I'll sing out your praise. You buried my past, I'm not going back. 'Cause I wasn't made to be tending a grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. Letting my shame with fountain of grace is running my way. I know I am yours. 'Cause I was made for more. Sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. You called out my name, so I'll sing out your praise. Hallelujah. You buried my past, I'm not going back. Hallelujah. You called out my name, I'll sing out your praise. Hallelujah. You buried my past, I'm not going back. I wasn't made to be tending a grave. I was called. So why would I? I was made for more. I know I am yours. I was made for more. Sing that one more time. I know I am yours. I was made for more. add that to that one. Amen.
Praise the Lord. Guys, thank you so much for being with us this morning. So happy to see you. We have in church next week up in Phoenicia on the 4th floor. If you sign up for text alerts, you'll get a text about it. Hope to see you in life group this week. Feel free to hang out. We still got snacks. We got t-shirts. And we'll see you soon.
Above all distraction, above every doubt, you have my attention here right now. Love from the outset, yours from the start. You broke through the darkness to have my heart. I'm lost to the world, in you forever. In a love that never fades, in a hope that never sways. You'll never let go. This love is wild, wild. You got me reaching for the sky. Now I'm spinning over why you'll never let go. This love is wild, wild. This love is wild, wild. This love is wild, wild. We're breaking the silence with heavenly sound, louder than thunder, shaking the ground. When fear comes to find me, I will be found. Here in your presence, your freedom is now. I'm lost to the world, in you forever. In a love that never fades, in a hope that never sways. You'll never let go. This love is wild, wild. You got me reaching for the sky. Now I'm spinning over why you'll never let go. This love is wild, wild. This love is wild, wild. This love is wild, wild. Wild, wild. Wild, wild. This love is wild, wild. This love is wild, wild. In a love that never fades, in a hope that never sways. You'll never let go. This love is wild, wild. You got me reaching for the sky. Now I'm spinning over why you'll never let go. This love is wild, wild. 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 This love is wild, wild.
I should have never applied. I don't belong in enterprise. I thought the limit was the sky. Not selling other people rides. Now I'm trying to sell a lie. Then I'm here for the long ride. As soon as I blow up, it's bye. As soon as I blow up, it's straight to the runway. Got some people who gon' say that I'm going the wrong way. Cause they didn't go their own way. You must think that I'm you. Trying to take all my fun away. I just get them a pump fake. I know some people gon' hate, but I can't let them dictate how I play my game, how I shoot. Let me see your hands raise the roof. Can I get get a hand on my shoes? Never sell my soul just to get some fans. Got a ceiling fan in my room. I feel like Boosie when I zoom. I do all my problems like balloons. Let them go and send them to the moon. Then I watch them go up like Elijah. Then I start to pray like our Father. I got something real strong in my bottle. Like he not strong enough for my problems. And my favorite excuse is I got it. When I don't wanna talk, I switch the topic. Not afraid to die, they know I'm about it. Cause you can't get to heaven on a rocket. I need to stop and focus on surviving. Focus on what I think in my noggin. What goes on in my head like toboggan. I know God get his only begotten. But sometimes why I feel so forgotten. I can hold a basketball with one hand, but I suck at holding conversations. Watch how these kings are ruling their nations. After the rain comes evaporation. I stay calm, I stay cool, I stay patient. I've been down for a while, I've been waiting. Back when Chris Paul was playing with Pager, I got God on my side like a pager. That's how I had none sign, but he major. Yeah, you rich, but you don't got no favor. If you not on my side, you a taper. Life is more than just a piece of. I should've never applied. I don't belong in enterprise. I thought the limit was the sky. Not selling other people rides. Now I'm trying to sell a lie that I'm here for the long ride. As soon as I blow up, it's by. As soon as I blow up, it's straight to the runway. Got some people who gon' say that I'm going the wrong way, cause they didn't go their own way. You must think that I'm you. Try to take all my fun away. I just get them a pump fake. I know some people gon' hate, but I can't let them dictate how I play my game, how I shoot. Let me see your hands, raise the roof. Can I get a hand on my shoes? Never sell my soul just to get some fans. Got a ceiling fan in my room. I feel like Boosie when I zoom. I do all my problems like balloons. Let them go and send them to the moon. Then I watch them go up like Elijah. Then I start to pray like our Father. I got something real strong in my bottle. Like he not strong enough for my problems. And my favorite excuse is I got it. When I don't wanna talk, I switch the topic. Not afraid to die, they know I'm about it. Cause you can't get to heaven on a rocket. I need to stop it, hey.